What is up, all of my beautiful, amazing people? Welcome back to another episode of FML Talk. I am freaking stoked because today we have Miss Kelsey Pummel on the podcast. Her story is powerful, intense, at times hard to listen to and believe, and so freaking strong. I discovered her first on TikTok, and getting to sit down and do this interview, she is so much more than meets the eye. So sit back, grab a drink, and welcome to FML Talk.
Oh my God. Wait, how old was the other girl?
19. Can you believe that shit?
Hey, this is Gabrielle Stone.
Good book?
He did what?
48 hours?
What a dick.
Yeah, but have you seen all the photos on her Instagram? And this is FML Talk.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Okay, you guys, I want to be sure to make everybody aware that there is a big trigger warning in this episode. I feel like we've been doing a lot of episodes that have been touching on some different trigger warnings, but there is a trigger warning for this episode of domestic violence. We really hear some gnarly things that Kelsey has dealt with and has had to deal with in her past relationship. And even listening back to this episode to proof it, because we recorded it over a month ago, it was really kind of shocking for me to re-listen to it. And Tay was in the other room, and I kept hearing him be like, oh my God. And it was really hard to hear what this woman endured. So I want to make everybody super aware. It's going to be an intense episode. And before we jump in with Kelsey, I want to reflect on a few things that we end up talking about in this episode. Her ex was obviously a narcissist, unfortunately a physically abusive one, but was definitely a narcissist. And in the episode, we talk about how she decided to finally take her power back from him. And it started with how to communicate, not letting the person get under your skin, not responding to everything, not engaging, because that's essentially what they want. She was talking about the fact that whenever you are trying to leave the grasp of an abuser, you have to disengage with them. And I think that's so important for people to hear, whether you're in an abusive relationship or if it's just a narcissistic relationship or it's an emotionally abusive or any type of dynamic that is toxic and not healthy for you. The best way is to really communicate properly. And that's, again, not letting what they say affect you and not letting them show you that it's affecting you and not engaging with them, because it genuinely takes their power away. And that's all that they're after, is that seeking of the power, that high of getting the reaction and response from you. So when they don't get that, it totally takes all of their ammo away. I remember when I was going through the first couple days after I handed Daniel divorce papers, and I started getting these texts from him that were really just shitty. Like, they would start out with, oh, I see you took our bed, I'll be getting that back in the process of this divorce, and like, don't think that you can just take things from me, and you're not going to get a dime out of any of this, which I didn't. But he would send me these sometimes borderline threatening and really narcissistic, gnarly text messages, and I just wouldn't respond. I would screenshot them and send them directly to my lawyer, and that was it. I would never engage with him. I had nothing left to say to him, and that's what he wanted. That's why he continued reaching out and continued to text me. Even when, all the social media bullshit happened a few months back, it started with that initial DM that I got from him at 2 a.m. And because I chose to ignore that and to not engage and not give him what he was seeking, he chose to go find that power high somewhere else. The other thing I want to talk about before we jump into the interview with Kelsey is not staying with someone who is less than what you deserve. Not staying with someone who is treating you less than what you deserve. And she said something that was so profound in this interview, and that was, victims of abuse and this is any kind of abuse, physical, emotional, stay because leaving is scarier than staying. And that person won't choose to leave until staying becomes scarier than leaving. And that hit me so hard in so many different ways because I know so many people that stay in relationships that are so much less than what they deserve. And it can be on such a lesser scale than being in physical danger. It can be because you don't think that you'll find someone better, or you don't think that the grass is greener on the other side, or you don't think that you actually do deserve so much fucking more than what this person is giving you. So if you take something away from this episode, I hope that you can take away the strength to know that you need to always, in your friendships, in your relationships, in your family dynamics, demand the respect and the love and the care that you deserve. You need to demand the love and respect and the care that you give to others. You deserve to be filled up by the people that you are filling up. And if you are listening to this and your inner voice is going, oh, yeah, but like I don't know if I really deserve this, and your inner subconscious is screaming at you, then I urge you to go inward and see what in you is feeling and creating the feelings that you are not worthy and that you don't deserve everything. Because until you realize that and reconcile that within yourself, and you know that you deserve all the things, you're not going to be able to attract someone who is going to give you that. It starts with you, guys. You have to take care of the shit on the inside before you can start attracting and manifesting and creating all the awesome shit that you want in your life. And that goes for relationships, that goes for jobs, financial, fucking everything. It all starts within you. Okay. I will stop preaching at you now. I can't wait for you guys to hear this interview. Buckle up. It's a doozy. Here we go. Miss Kelsey, holy shit, girl. Welcome to FML Talk.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're finally here. I feel like I know you from all of your TikTok videos and from just like being in social media world with you. How's it going, girl? How are you?
I'm good. Things have been interesting lately, but overall, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You have such an interesting story, and I want to kind of like go back to the beginning so that people really like get a picture of where you come from and like your crazy relationship story. So kind of take me back to that that first relationship, you know, that kind of like defined where your life was going.
So I started dating my child's father when I was 21. And I was not in a good place, like mentally, or emotionally. I was young. I didn't love myself. So I accepted the bare minimum, if I even got that sometimes. It was very, very manipulating, the entire relationship, very emotionally abusive and mentally abusive, but it didn't get physical until about 4 years in. And so I was already long gone by the time it got physical, and I was accepting of that behavior because I thought I loved him or that it was love. I also didn't know what love was at all prior to. I had never been loved properly. Obviously, I was a child. So I accepted that when it was just me. I thought I had to kind of put myself up as like his sacrificial lamb, almost in a sense. Like to save him, I had to be his doormat or whatever the case may be, because that was love. If I loved him, I had to take whatever he was doing and deal with it. And that's what I was told too. So I believed it, and that's what I did for the longest time until I had Kobe, my sweet baby. Kobe saved my life. So when Kobe was born, I was pretty miserable still in the relationship. Before she was born, let's say about 5 months, he had already cheated on me multiple times while I was pregnant. But the things that he had said to me at 5 months were pretty bad. Like I was told, I don't know what words I can use on here.
Oh, this is FML Talk,
Okay.
though. You can drop any words you want.
My kind of show. So I was told he couldn't wait. Basically had cheated on me, and so I didn't want to be with him anymore. And he had told me he couldn't wait for Kobe to grow up so he could teach her what a cunt her mother was. And all these terrible things.
God.
And he was already telling me things he was going to do to use my daughter against me, and things he was going to say to her and tell her, no matter how untrue they were. He was almost anticipating and excited for that. And that's when I started. I remember the moment like it was yesterday, and I was sitting outside my business crying on the phone with him. And I remember I didn't like him anymore. I didn't like him. I still loved him, but I didn't like him. And I knew, I knew that was my mind preparing my heart for what would eventually need to happen. I did leave him for a couple months, and then he ended up coming back, and I let him come back because I was pregnant and I was scared, and I didn't want to do it alone. So I let him come back.
Yeah.
He cheated on me more. When I was 9 months pregnant, I received pictures of him in bed naked with a girl from the
girl?
No, from the girl's baby daddy, who accidentally walked in the wrong night too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the guy happened to recognize him and knew who I was. So he ended up messaging me all these pictures. And I mean, I remember not caring at all. He walked in the house, and I remember being like, looks like you had a good night. And I legitimately didn't feel anything anymore.
Wow.
When I had Kobe, he was great for about 5 days. Really showed up for 5 days, but then he had to work. And the fact that he had to work to pay, my rent was like $1,400, and I was having him pay me $500 a month. That's it. Mm-hmm. I took care of everything else. I blew through my savings during my maternity leave, but I took care of everything, and I was just asked him to pay $500 a month to help me with the rent. And that was miserable for him, that he had to actually work and give me money. But he used all my money. So yeah, I don't know. Working, the fact that he had to work a 9 to 5, he blamed it on me and blamed it on Kobe, which is weird because I'm like, well, you have to have a job.
Yeah, and you have to support your child that you chose to have.
Right. At this point, this man is 30 years old and was complaining about having a 9 to 5 job. So I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, my guy. But there was one time he went and he got the money, and he only got like half of it, but he came and he just threw $250 in my face while I'm breastfeeding Kobe. Like, just for what? I don't know. But so like I took all of it for a minute, and I wanted to leave, but I didn't know how yet. I had started putting I knew I had my support system. I'm very lucky in that sense because some people don't have anybody. I'm very lucky. I never lost a single friend during this relationship. Sometimes they distance themselves, but the moment I reached out, they were always there. And I had a very strong support system. But it got violent when Kobe was 8 weeks old. So I was laying in bed breastfeeding her. It was like 6:30, 7 a.m. And he gets up. I have a 4-bedroom house. I have a whole workout room. I have a loft. It's a pretty large house. He was working out in the bedroom, started blaring music, working out in the bedroom. I start breastfeeding her. I'm like, can you just go to any other room? Any other room.
Yeah.
We're trying to sleep. Like, I'm still exhausted from birth, dang near.
Yeah.
And he was like, baby, you should get your lazy fat ass up, and you wouldn't look like such a whale.
Stop it.
At 7 a.m. And I was like, I don't need to work out at 7 a.m. I'm breastfeeding my child. We were sleeping. And he was like, why don't you just go take her to the couch? I was like, no.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
And
first of all, for people that can't see what Kelsey looks like, she's like the size of my leg. So like the fact that like after giving birth to a fucking human, anyone could have the audacity to call you a whale is ridiculous.
I did have some birth weight, but it was a little rude.
But you're supposed to. Like, hello, I just carried a fucking human.
And the doctor says you're not supposed to work out yet. So, but
yeah,
it was anything. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know how to make sense of the things he did or said. I don't think you can. I fully believe he has narcissistic personality disorder with sociopathic tendencies. And I've said that now for years. And he's still, we'll get into that. He's still doing the same thing. He's 33 now, decade long of the same behavior, not changing. But so I wouldn't get up and leave. And I was told multiple times to shut the fuck up. So I did. I said, fine. And I mean, I was just staring at Kobe. I was holding her and I was just staring at her. And I was just taking everything he was saying. I wasn't saying anything back. So then I started getting yelled at for not saying anything back. Why are you ignoring me? Why aren't you listening? So, now you want to play this game? And so he took my fan and he threw it across the room and smashed it on the wall. And I still just locking eyes with Kobe, not moving, not saying anything. Because when I was pregnant, he did choke me when I was pregnant. And I remember sitting there like, just don't move, don't say anything, just take it, and that will protect your baby. And so I was doing the same thing. If I don't move, if I don't say anything, he won't do anything, and she'll be safe. Well, then, because I wasn't, it escalated. He came over, he punched me in the face, and he choked me, and I'm still holding her. And he picked me up off the bed, choking me. I got away. I had scratches on my arms and all over my neck. I got away to the other end of the bed. But he came over and he ripped Kobe from my arms. And I'll never forget watching her head fall backwards like that. And I couldn't do anything. And I never felt so never felt so helpless.
And how old was she at that time?
She was 8 weeks old. So that was it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was it for me. So I called his parents because he stormed out after. I called his parents, come get his stuff. If you don't come get his stuff, I'm calling the police, and they'll get his stuff and him. And at this point, I still hadn't made it to the point where I called the police to make a report. I had never reported any of the times he had ever put his hands on me. But they came and got his stuff, and he came back. He was throwing my dresser drawers everywhere, like right past me as I'm holding Kobe, just throwing dresser drawers, taking his stuff. How much I'm going to regret this. I'll never find someone like him. And in my head, I'm like, I don't think it was in my head. I think I said back. I was like, that's the point. Get out. And so his mom's looking at me like, stop talking. You're only making it worse. And I'm like, stop condoning this behavior. This is why we're here. It's because we let this man do whatever he wants, and nobody holds him accountable. Finally, I got him out. I was doing really well for, it was like a month, and then Father's Day came, and he wanted her. And I let them take her for the day, and then we started working together, and I was like, okay, every other weekend, we'll do this. I filed for sole custody and full physical. Luckily, he had a warrant out for his arrest already from beating up a girl the year before that he cheated on me with, who told me, so he beat her up.
Oh, my God.
It gets worse. Yeah. So he already had a warrant out for his arrest. So I won everything because he couldn't step into a courtroom. I'm not going to say that wasn't, I did it. It was very opportunistic. I knew what I was doing, but I did it for my daughter. It was necessary that I have all legal say. Like, he's just not he's not sane. But I won't not admit that I knew he couldn't fight me, and I used it.
As you should have.
That's what I'm saying. So the universe aligned that perfectly for me, and I heard the message and I ran with it. But things were a little better with us, like communication-wise for Kobe. And then when she was 5 months old, it was his birthday, and he had asked me to go. That was the conversation that I put on the TikTok I did of yours. So he was asking me to go to dinner. And I was like, you can have Kobe an extra day. And I learned how, once I took all of the power back. And one way of doing that was how I communicate with him. I didn't let him get under my skin anymore. I didn't let the things he said affect me. I knew I didn't have to respond to everything. I needed one message and one message only, and it needed to be about Kobe. And as long as I kept it consistent about Kobe and did the repetitive messages, he lost control. But that drove him insane. So those messages, like I did on my TikTok, where I just kept saying, if you would like Kobe an extra day for your birthday, you're more than welcome to have her. I will not be going to dinner. It drove him nuts. It ended up starting a really intense, scary conversation between us that was a lot more than that one. I can only fit so much into 60 seconds. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
I wasn't responding to most, but it was all the threats. He turned off his phone, drove to my house, parked about like a half a mile away from my house, came to my house with a crowbar and was just beating the side of my house. So then I did call the cops. Obviously, at this point, I called the cops. I see him run in front of my house out to his car. In the outfit I had bought him the Christmas before. So I was like, I know that was you. What are you doing? So I call the cops. They can't do anything because he's not there. And he didn't actually force entry in. So then I emailed my attorney, and I was like, I want a protective order. We need to get me a protective order. And I was like, I don't know if I can do anything. So even he like had like messaged later and was like, I don't know what you're talking about. You can't prove that I was there. Just because you think you saw me doesn't mean you did. So I'm talking to my attorney. He was like, if you saw him, that holds up in court. That's not hearsay. Those were your eyes. You saw him.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay, let's go. And so I was withholding Kobe at that point. So I'm like, you're not getting my child. If you're going to be crazy and show up with crowbars, we'll go back to court. So that started our long journey that was still going, custody stuff. We ended up agreeing eventually every other weekend again, as long as, he didn't beat up women. Well, then he got put in jail for beating up another woman.
Oh my God.
He's been to jail now 4 times. She's 3. He's been in jail 4 times for beating up women since. And those are just the 4 he got caught. So there's multiple stories of him beating up, especially one girl. But she just didn't call the police. I did go in and I testified to every single time he ever put his hands on me after. Mm-hmm. So they are now on record, and he's not allowed to own a weapon in the state of Indiana because he used them on me. So I got that all done, and I've won everything so far. We were doing better this last time. I think he had gone 10 months. Seeing her every other weekend, building a relationship again. That's the sucky part. Is he comes back long enough to build a relationship, and then he's gone again. And so he just got arrested in September for felony 3 charges. So like pre-murder, strangulation, confinement.
Oh my God, girl.
I was showing like one of my friends, an attorney, so she got me the whole police report, and I'm reading it, and I was like, oh, this is child's play. He did this to me so many times. But it's felony 3 charges. I didn't realize then the type of like what he was really committing back then. But the sad thing is with domestic stuff, if the girl doesn't show up to testify, he gets off without even a slap on the wrist.
Oh my God. Okay, there's so much to fucking unpack here. I'm like just sitting here with my mouth on the floor. So when was it, let's back up. When was it that you realized in the relationship that things weren't good? Like how early on was it? Was it before you guys got pregnant?
Oh yeah, it was way before. It was probably, I think the worst, or one of the main times, 2013, 2014. So in 2013 is when he started hitting me. And at one point, he had punched me so bad and so hard in my thigh so many times. My entire thigh was black when I woke up the next morning, like just black from the bottom of my bottom all the way down to my kneecap and then past my kneecap. And it took about 6 months to heal. That's when things were probably the worst. And that's when I started self-harming, because it was like I didn't understand how someone could treat me like this, and I still loved them, and I didn't know how to leave, and I felt just stuck. I quit my job. I was in probably the worst mental and emotional place I've ever been in my life, and I didn't know how to fix it or get out. And it was still 3 years later, and I had still endured it, and I would reach out to my support system during it, and they were always there for me. That's another thing. Like I'd call my dad, he'd drive down an hour and a half, like that. Like there was no questions asked. My mom would do whatever she could, no questions asked. All my friends. There were many times one of my friends, Renee, had to meet him and dang near an alley, and she was terrified, but she did it to protect me. All of them did. And even when they were like, you gotta leave, and I wouldn't, they'd be like, she's not gonna leave until she leaves. There's nothing we can do except be there for her. And I was so blessed, because they're all still in my life. They're all still my best friends, and my family. But like there were many times I should have left. It was a long, long process. Abuse is never easy to leave. And that's what I tell people.
And it's like a trauma bond.
Yes.
You know, you're addicted to that high when it is okay, so that then you almost manipulate your own mind to thinking that it's somehow going to be okay, and it's somehow going to get better if I can
you'll
just
get back
past
to
this
those
one
good
thing.
times. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I tell people with abuse, like, you don't leave, like you stay, victims of abuse stay, because leaving is scarier than staying. But you don't leave until staying becomes scarier than leaving. And that's what happened when I had Kobe, is at that point staying was scarier, because it was her life now that was at risk. It wasn't just mine. And I realized in that moment how much I didn't truly care about myself or love myself, because I was willing to risk my entire life because I was too scared to leave. And I realized I was not willing to risk hers, that I was going to figure out how to get out for her.
So you guys then get pregnant, and how are some of the ways when he was cheating that you found out, other than the ridiculous fact that the baby daddy sent you pictures when you were 9 months pregnant? Like, I can't even imagine.
And so that was just a random girl that he met that night. So there's always been one girl that when we were dating that he was always cheating on me with. She was very open about it. So I'd usually find out either from something on social media, or she would say something, or if I ever posted something, she'd be like, that's why he was with me last night. And I'd get those messages or whatever. But when I was pregnant, it's the first time ever that he just disappeared for days, and he did it twice. And he was actually in another state with, like, he was in like in Ohio or something, which is right next to Indiana, but like with her. And then when he would get back, she had messaged me multiple times that I look stupid having this man's child, like basically telling me I should have gotten an abortion. I look stupid having this man's child because he's actually with her, and he doesn't let, like, and she might have some things going on with her too. She's still one of the people that he might have gone 5 times to jail, actually. It was either 4 or 5, 2 or 3 of them were the same girl. And she's been getting beat up by him probably for 8 years now.
The girl he was cheating on you with that was sending the messages.
Yes. And that's been a constant thing. And I mean, even one time her family reached out. Her mom reached out. Like, so it was never, it was something I should have known was happening. It was never going to end. But he always had some story. Like, she did this and that. And so then he accidentally, put his hands on her because of what she was doing. And now he has to keep her happy. Otherwise, he'll go to jail. It was always something that was like, if I don't talk to her, there's a reason that I couldn't say anything on social media, or he couldn't not talk to her. And it was to protect himself, and I needed to protect him if I truly loved him. It was always some manipulative story that was construed to make me think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unreal. So when you look back at the past with him, are you able to say, like, because obviously this is a terrible human, like, I have no shame in saying that, if you put your hands on
and
any woman, but
much
less multiple women, and like one that is holding your newborn child, I mean, that's the worst of the worst for me. But like, is there something you can look at and see, okay, this is where all of those problems stem from in his life? Like, was there something in his childhood? Was it the way he was raised? Nope. Like, what is it?
That's the crazy part. Like, and me as the person I am, I love diving into like the human mind and the psyche and trying to figure it out. And it is beyond me. His mother and his father are 2 amazing people. They are still in our lives. Like, I hit it. Kobe sees them. They'll come over to the house to see her. They are very involved. They are the kindest humans. They love me. I still have a very great relationship with them. The mom, very enabling. And so with narcissism, that is one thing, is that when the mother is very enabling, it can breed it almost. But it usually takes more. Now, he acts like his childhood was just the most traumatic, horrible thing in the world. But all that happened is his parents got a divorce. Now, I can understand the trauma of that. I had it too. Didn't lead me to go beating up people and all this, but I don't know what the human mind can do in other people. But no, he had a relatively great childhood. He was a basketball player and was pretty good and pretty well known. And that could have helped because that entitlement.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break because I have some news. As you might have seen on my Instagram stories, I recently started trying Green Chef, which is the first ever certified organic meal kit company. I was skeptical, but I gotta tell you guys, Tay and I cooked the Chipotle shrimp dish they sent us, and it was freaking restaurant style phenomenal. They have a ton of menu options, all that come pre-measured, prepped, and ready to cook. Honestly, I'm so tired by the end of my days lately. It's been hard to stay on top of my healthy eating, and Green Chef is helping me get it together again. They have keto, vegan, vegetarian. It's all healthy, organic, and fresh. The best part for me is that it allows me to eat healthy and not be bored with the same old foods, and it's actually really affordable. And now, because I have a discount code for you, it'll be even more affordable. You can go to greenchef.com/90FML and use code 90FML to get $90 off, including free shipping. That's greenchef.com/90FML and use code 90FML for $90 off and free shipping. Let me know if you guys try it and what you're cooking up with the #1 meal kit for eating well. All right, let's get back to the show. Right.
That he would get
I
from
mean,
it.
it's
Attention.
for me, like I've dealt with massive amounts of trauma growing up, but for me it's like that's not an excuse.
No.
Your trauma and what you go through in life isn't an excuse. It can be a telling aspect of it, but you're not ever allowed to make it an excuse for any of your actions moving forward. Like it's your responsibility to heal it and work through it and become better from it.
Right.
I mean, how many people have gotten fucking, parents have gotten divorces? Like my dad dropped dead and like I didn't become a psychopath. It's like
it's not an excuse.
You can't, no, not at all. So you're pregnant, all of this bullshit's happening, he's cheating on you, which I can't even imagine finding out multiple times in that volatile of a way while you're pregnant and all of your hormones are probably out of fucking whack. So then you have the baby, it's okay for 5 days. But the fact that he was able to put his hands on you while you were holding an infant, not holding an infant, holding his infant. I mean, I cannot even imagine what must have been going through his mind to get that angry to cross a line like that.
Right. I don't either. And he'll constantly blame alcohol, but I was like, bro, it was 7 a.m. You were sober.
Right.
And we had to testify, and I was like, yeah, he might have been drunk 40% of the times he put his hands on me, but he claims it was every single time. He told the judge, I beat up women because I'm alcoholic. And the judge was like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, I know. The judge is great in Indiana.
Then, bro, stop drinking. What?
That's what she said. She was like, then if you want to be a father to this little girl, you need to stop drinking and stop going around these particular women that you tend to enjoy beating up. But then now we're noticing it's not just that particular girl. It's not just me. It's any girl he's involved with. So the last one was someone apparently he's been in a relationship with for the last year. But he's still messing with other women. I've heard he's with 4 women. I get messages all the time. They're like, so many women think they're Kobe's stepmom. And I'm like,
oh my God, I cannot.
Yikes. And he's still on dating apps. I get messages all the time from girls that are like, this is him, isn't it? Or once I realized this was him, I was like, no. And I'm like, you have a girlfriend.
You're like, swipe the other way.
And it's so funny. I'll get messages and some girls will call him right out. Oh, I didn't realize. Because they'll see his social media and he has pictures of Kobe. So I didn't realize that's who you were. I know what you do. I know what kind of man you are. I'm going to go ahead and unmatch. And he'll block him on everything like that.
Unreal. Oh my God.
But I get him all the time.
Does he still see Kobe?
So in our last agreement before he beat this last girl up, it said that any more violent arrests, he would just automatically go to supervised visitations for 2 hours a week or 8 hours a month total. So it took him, he just started those last month. This was in September, he got arrested. And I told him, you built this bond with your daughter. I don't like you. Oh, because he called me and said, I really need your support during this time. I said, oh, fuck off. No. No. I was like,
love you.
I said, you better hope that the court doesn't call me to testify because I will be testifying on her behalf. Like, no.
Right.
You're not going to get my support with this. I said, but as Kobe's mother, you just spent all of this time building this bond with her. I will support the fact that you can't just disappear again. And I was like, she has an iPad, FaceTime her whenever you want. Go set up your supervision so that she's seeing you. So you're not just in and out. That's going to mess with her mind. She's not going to understand it. Yeah, no, because I wouldn't support the fact that he beat up a woman. He refused to call her. He would not FaceTime her. He would not set up a supervision. He was not present for months until I called his mom and I said, listen, I think at that time I was like, I have almost 1 million followers on TikTok. I swear I will air it all out. I will put his government name. I'll put it all. I said, you better make sure that sorry, we have children.
That's okay.
So I was like, he needs to be in her life. He built this bond. And then I realized, why am I begging for this? I could teach her one day what happened. I can do what I need to do. I don't need him. But I did scare his mom, I think, a little bit with that. So she went and got the supervision set up. He still doesn't call her. His mom does, but his mom and dad were already coming over once a week to see her, and they were already FaceTiming and calling her. But now she got the supervision set up, so now he does see her. I think right now it's every other week for 4 hours because we come to South Carolina a lot. And we're most likely going to be moving here in June. And so that the good thing is, he can't fight me for custody. Yeah. The court's never going to give him any custody. So we will get to move. It's just figuring out the timeline. But he's also, I talked to his mom. They're not going to fight. They're going to sign the papers and let us come here and build the family we deserve. And luckily, I mean, she has cousins here. So his mom's kind of excited to come visit here. But yeah, it's weird because he has a great family. Like,
right. That makes it so much worse.
Yeah. It, like, mentally, like, you think, like, it has to be a good person then. But
does Kobe ask, about him and, like, where he is? Is she old enough to realize, like, that's my dad and he's not here?
Yes. So she does know who her dad is. She does understand he's not. It was hard to watch the first few months because so she would do things like I would watch her and play, and that's one way I know in like my profession how I learn what's going on in a child's mind a lot of times is I just silently watch and observe them playing. And so I don't know, I try very hard not to speak poorly about him in front of her to anybody or to where she can hear. Now with kids sometimes you don't know if they're listening in other rooms. You don't even realize. So I don't know what all she's heard, but I know at the beginning I would watch her play, and there was one time she had the Ken doll hitting the Barbie doll, and then she was like, oh, you have to go to jail because you're not allowed to hit women. Men who hit women go to jail. And she put Ken in jail for hitting women, and she was like, and now you can't talk to your family. And I was like, oh my gosh. But she won't talk a ton with me about it. She'll say she's fine. She'll say she doesn't want to talk to him. Because I've caught her before. She has an iPad. She loves taking pictures of people on her iPad when she's with them. So she has a bunch of pictures from when she was over there every other weekend. Yeah. And so she'll often scroll all the way back, and she'll talk to the pictures with her dad in them. She'll have a conversation, and then she'll exit out. And I remember the first time I saw her do it, I was like, what are you doing? She was like, oh, I'll show you. And she pulled the same picture of him up. And she was like, and I just talked to him like this, and then I exit out. And I was like, do you want to call him? She was like, no. And I was like, honey, I can get him to call you. I said, I could get him on the phone. And at that point, I'm like determined. Like, if you would talk to him, I would get him on the phone. And she was like, I already said what I needed to say. I don't need to talk to him. And I was like, okay. God. Yeah. And I was like, do you miss him? She was like, nope. I said what I needed to say. I don't want to talk to him.
And how old is she?
3.
What an advanced fucking child. I mean, like, if we could just pull up a picture and say what we needed to say, do you know how much easier our goddamn lives would be?
Right. She handled, and she's at the point, too, where it's like, if I tell her we're going to go see her dad at, like, supervision, she's like, oh, yay, this is fun. Let's go do it. She gets all excited. And then if I tell her, like, oh, we don't get to see him this week, she's like, oh, okay, and moves on. Like, it's just kind of,
wow.
She's okay if she does. She's okay if she doesn't. It really doesn't affect her. The hardest parts of it right now are they bring toys to the supervision, obviously, to play. I mean, they're there for, like, 4 hours to play. She doesn't get to take all those toys every time home. And so that's the biggest struggle right now that she's facing is she doesn't get to take toys. She gets some of them. They always bring some to let her take because I told him I was like, you can't do that. You're killing this child with this. So they bring them now.
Oh, my God.
But, like, I'm like, if that's the hardest part right now, that's great. But she doesn't talk with me about him. If she does talk, she talks about her family. And then she won't just talk about him. She has to talk about everybody. It's interesting. She'll be like, yeah, I have a mom and a dad, but I also have a Nona and a Nana and a Nini and a grandpa and a grandpa. And she has to list everyone. But she does talk about him with other people. So I'm not sure what that is, but I know with Sage, who helps me with her, it's like my cousin. It's like her big sister almost to her. Mm-hmm. She does talk about him to her. A lot of times she'll just say stuff like, oh, yeah, my dad taught me how to do that. Or, yeah, my dad bought me that once. Things like that, like randomly bringing him up, but not really conversation. She just brings them up. But she doesn't do that with me.
Well, she's still so young, too.
Yeah. She's very advanced for her age. I mean, she really is. She speaks like she's 6. She speaks like she's 36 some days. I'm like, where'd you learn that?
And she's the beautiful product of a biracial relationship. How has that been? Have you had any, because I know you talk about it on TikTok a little bit, like that there's been people that have thrown hate in that department, which is, it's like, guys, we're in fucking 2021 and like
Right.
your child is so beautiful. Like I wish I had a biracial child.
Okay.
Like they're some of the most gorgeous humans I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
But tell me some of the stories that you've faced around that.
So I get a lot of comments calling her a half-breed, which I'm like, who even
Unbelievable.
says that anywhere? Yeah. I've got a comment just the other day. I chose to ignore it. I was like, I'm tired with all the race stuff going on right now in this world. I was like, I'm just tired. But I got a comment the other day. It was like, yeah, you just look like, or now we know how you got a black child. You just look like someone like that or something like that. And I was like, what does that mean?
What does that even mean?
Right. But they constantly are like people or trolls. I don't know what we call them anymore. Or, I mean, I get that a lot. Like, you just look like, or I don't, that's why you have a black, now we know why you have a black daughter or something. I'm like, okay.
Unbelievable. It's like,
But it's weird stuff like that.
You would think in the climate of the world that we're living in today that people would be more used to seeing biracial relationships, and that like it's like the fact that we can't normalize that in 2021 and not throw any sort of hate at a fucking
Right.
child who is 3 years old and beautiful is unbelievable to me.
Yep. And I mean, it's hurt people who say hurt things. Like a lot of people hate seeing me happy. And so anything that might be able to derive that, people love to do, because seeing somebody happy to a hurt person, for some reason, it's miserable. It's hard for them. And instead of working on them, they have to throw hate and they have to project their insecurities and their pain onto other people, because misery loves company.
Yep.
But I've always said with this platform, I was like, if this happened to me when I was younger, no way in heck. I said it right the first time and still messed it up.
I love it.
Would I be able to have gotten through it? Like all of the hate that gets thrown constantly my way, I was like, there's no way. I would have broke so long ago. So I'm like so thankful that the universe knew not to give me this platform until now, because I'm still learning how to use it effectively. I'm still learning how to, because I have to be perfect. You know, like I can't step a toe out of line. I can't make a mistake. If I do, it is immediately caught and used. And now I'm like, now I get why some celebrities literally lose their mind, and I'm not even a celebrity.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, I've watched it happen on TikTok and on your page and on my For You page, that women are waiting to see you mess up, to the point where they go into your lives and will screen record it, because if you fuck up, they want to have it to make a video about it for either, drama purposes, clout, whatever you want to call it, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
Who has the time?
Well, it's also terrifying to me, because at this point I'm like, anything I say could be taken wrong, because a lot of the things that I have said, whether right or wrong, were taken out of context. They were misconstrued. They were taken, and whatever they were taken as, like, I've been more than willing to apologize to anyone I've hurt, more than willing to accept what I've done, but the intent was never bad. And there are bad people in this world that I will stand next to every good person in this world and go after the bad people. But I'm like, stop making me bad. I messed up. I'm human. And what I didn't mean in a negative way. If whatever was, the multiple things that have happened, I'm like, they weren't negative. My intent was good. It sucks that it was taken that way. It sucks that things have been taken out of context. And it hurts my heart that I would ever be, it hurts my heart that anyone could think I'm a bad person in any way. That hurts at night. But at the end of the day, I know who I am. I know what my heart is. I know how my heart is. And I know my soul. And so why would I let someone who doesn't know me at all define who I am? If they want to make pages about me, it defines more about them and their time.
Right. Fucking A, girl. But you've also been through so much trauma, like physical, mental, emotional trauma, that it's amazing that you are the way that you are. Like, if anyone had, you know, the excuse to be like, well, I fuck up sometimes, like, it's you, girl. Like, so the fact that you've now created this platform and are like empowering other women to, you know, come together and support each other and to just fucking have fun, like, and be light in this world. Like, this world has so much darkness in it that we need to like come together and be that light to kind of overpower that.
Yep. And I'm still going to keep doing that.
You're like, they can't stop me.
I'm not stopping. I'm going to still keep showing up. No matter how much people want to make me the bad guy, I'm going to keep showing up because I know at the end of the day, I know I've at least helped one person.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Well, a lot more than one.
But that's all I really needed.
For real. And you are now in a really happy, healthy relationship, right?
I am. Yes, I am.
And your man looks freakishly like one of my favorite doctors on Grey's Anatomy.
I do.
I mean, like, it's uncanny.
I know. That's why I'm here.
I love it.
It's my
I
Jackson
love it.
Avery.
And y'all met on TikTok?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He actually had a crush on me
it.
over the summer. So there was a video I did where I walk out of my mom's house and I'm in a green bikini. And it says, like, when the family disappointments show up to the party, and I, like, have a white claw and I smash it on my head. And he said that was the moment. That's when he knew. And then
that's my woman.
Then we didn't talk. Like, he never actually talked to me or reached out to me. I think he followed me at that point, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And once I got out of my relationship, people kept tagging him on my stuff, and I would hear, or someone told me he was in his live talking about how beautiful I was. So I eventually followed him back, and he made a TikTok about it because apparently it took like 6 months to follow him back.
I love it. TikTok, the matchmaking
really
community.
Was.
I cannot.
He still took 3 weeks to reach out to me after I followed him. There's a whole video about me, and he still took like 3 weeks to say. I was like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm confused. This isn't normal behavior. Are you going to talk to me?"
I love it. I love it.
He's awesome.
Girl, I'm so glad that you're happy and thriving. Can you tell everybody where they can follow your badass self on social media, please?
Yes, you can follow me at Perfectly Kelsey, and that's across all of my accounts. So TikTok, Instagram, that's all I have.
You're like, there are no more.
Never mind.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on FML Talk and sharing your insanely amazing story. Some really powerful stuff, and I'm so glad that you and Kobe are so happy and thriving, girl.
Thank you. It's so nice. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Whew. I told you guys at the top of the show it was going to be an intense interview. I want to thank Kelsey so much for coming on and sharing her truth and her trauma and how it has not defined her, but given her this voice that she is now helping other women connect and find their voices. It's just a really beautiful thing to watch. As I mentioned, we recorded this a few months ago, and since then, her old TikTok page has been shut down and canceled. So her new handle is Canceled with Kelsey, and canceled is with a K. So go check her out and follow her. I think she is just a firecracker ball of light in this world. We are also going to put some resources for domestic violence in the show notes for everyone to check out if that's something that you might need. Okay, it is about that time. We are going to jump into your FML stories. Here we go.
Hey Gabrielle, this is Melanie, and this is my FML story. It all started January 12, 2018, when my ex-husband told me he was in love with another woman. We had been together 18 years, married for 15 years, and have 2 beautiful sons. This woman just happened to be 18 years younger than us, and he said he didn't cheat on me and that she was a virgin. And then we find out, oh, guess what? She has a kid. Okay, sure she's a virgin. Anyway, after all of that and my stupidity of believing everything he told me, I still wanted to work things out, and I was willing to forgive him. And I begged him, let's go to counseling, let's work things out. And he says, I know you want to work things out, but obviously he didn't. I was even so desperate, and I'm humiliated to say this, but I told him I was willing to share him. And he yelled at me and said, you had me for 18 years. Don't be selfish. Well, my heart just broke a little bit more. And from that point on, finally realized I don't know if this is ever going to work out. I was still hoping, I still had hope. But by June of that year, we officially decided, okay, we're done. We still lived together, however, we still acted like a family. And then that summer, I find out he's been bragging at his work to his classes how he had this woman and me, and that I'm okay with it, and we're like best friends, and on and on and on. And then when I confronted him because I found this out, he flat out denied it. No, I would never do any of that. I can honestly tell you I would never do that. Well, I just found out I'd been lied to, and I don't know how many times I've been lied to. So then he proceeded, throughout the next, so many months, he went on a few trips. He went to Toronto, he went to Edmonton, and then he made a solo trip to China. Well, he didn't go to China alone. She was there. In fact, that's where she's actually from. That's her home country, is China. And he went there for 3 weeks to go and be with her. Came home and said he was not with her. He was there alone on a solo trip. Needless to say, I didn't believe him. He'd already lied every time he went somewhere. He said he wasn't with anyone, but he was always with her. And there's so much more to this than I have time to tell you. But I finally moved out. We have 50-50 custody of our kids. It's really hard sharing, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Officially divorced in January 2020, and I am in a much better place, and I realize I have survived a narcissist, a liar, a cheater, you name it, he's it. And thankfully my boys are amazing, and I'm happy to have found you, Gabrielle. Thank you. I love your book, and I'm still healing, and there's so much more to this story than you know, and I just don't have the time to say it. Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
Girl, I so feel for you. The gaslighting. I mean, we've done an episode on narcissism. I feel like we could do an entire episode on gaslighting and examples and what that is. And I feel like so many times people don't know the verbiage of, necessarily what a narcissist is, what gaslighting is. So when it's happening to people, they don't know how to recognize and spot it. And then they get out of this manipulative relationship and this toxic dynamic, and they look back on it and they're like, oh, yeah, like that's exactly, I was being gaslit. That's exactly what that means. And it's just wild to me that people have it in them to do that to another human and have convinced themselves that it's okay and that it's not wrong. I think we also need to find an open narcissist to come on the show and discuss the inner workings of their mind. But I am so glad that you are out of that and starting to heal. And I want to say congratulations on your divorce, because that is just a shitty ending to a beautiful new beginning for you. All right, here's story number 2.
Hey girl, this is Raquel, and this is my story how I found out my ex-husband was cheating on me. I met her at my husband's work Christmas party. She worked in the same place as him, they're all policemen, and he was her boss. She was there with her husband at the time. She got close to me during the party and told me about her abusive husband, how crazy he was. Her husband had then come onto the dance floor at this time and said, it's time to come home. She freaked out and went to the bathroom. And I, being an empath, went after her. She then revealed that her husband was going to kill her, the kids, and himself. She was just hysterical. So I was worried about the kids, and at this point, I realized her husband had left the party. My husband and I were at the party for a while with her, and we were just trying to decide what to do. And so I decided, well, let's bring her home to our house. Once we took her home, I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. It just was off. A few weeks later, I got an anonymous phone call that my husband was cheating on me with the same woman I brought into our home that night. From that point on, my husband would pick small arguments with me, and I felt him just drifting. Eventually, he filed for divorce in June 2015, about 6 months after her husband had filed the end of December of that year, 2014. And it was a battle between my husband and me. Finally, In 2019, we're officially divorced. I'm finally fucking free. And I know I am making way better memories with my girls.
Damn, girl, that sounds like a fucking movie. I mean, it doesn't even sound real. I can't imagine what that must have been like to feel empathy towards this person and welcome her into your home and think that you were doing something good and have it backfire in your face like that, to realize that that's who your husband was cheating with. That's like next level manipulative betrayal. And I'm so sorry. And I'm so glad that you're on the other side of it, living your best life with your girls now. So I'm sending you lots of love. Okay, you guys, I have a little bit of sad news. This officially wraps up season 1 of FML Talk. So, to prep for season 2, which don't worry is coming and it's going to be fucking amazing, we are going to take a 3-week hiatus. I will miss you all terribly because I love connecting with you every week. But we are going to take a few weeks to revamp, reorganize, and get ready to come back to hang out with you for season 2. So definitely make sure you are connected with us on Instagram at FML Talk Podcast. You guys can go back and binge any of the episodes that were your favorite that are still up. I know my new listeners are still trying to catch up, so this will give you time to do so. And if you have an FML story that you want to submit for season 2, all you need to do is record it on a voice note the same way that you guys are hearing them all on the show, and email them in to chiquitamiamiproductions@gmail.com. While we are on break, if you want to get any of the new merch that is now officially back in stock, yay, you can grab it on the website, as well as your signed copies of the book, which is eatprayfml.com. I cannot wait to see you guys back here in a few weeks. We have some incredible guests coming up, and we're going to dive in deep with some more solo podcasts. Until then, y'all, have a self-love cocktail. Keep doing those fucking thought onions, and I love you so much. I will see you in a few short weeks. Cheers, guys.